Hey guys, this is Bhagat and this is another video blog. So today I started packing for India. As I told you guys in the last video, I'm going to be leaving in about 2 weeks, maybe less, I think, probably less than 2 weeks. So I've started packing and I'm ready to go, almost. Just gotta get some just gotta buy some more supplies, I guess, because I plan to paint there. While I'm in India, I plan to paint the temples and mountains and whatever I see on the way. I plan to paint it all. So we're going to be going for a little bit more than a month, and we have like a trip planned. Like, we're going to visit all these areas, all these locations. So I'm going to keep that a surprise. So as I go there, I'll do video blogs and I'll show you guys the paintings that I do there, the sketches that I do, the people I meet, etc. So all of that will be in the video blogs that I will do. And my goal is to try and do one blog a day. So I'm actually trying to practice for that, doing it now before I go to get the ball rolling, and then hopefully when I'm there I don't have to try and build the momentum. The momentum is already there. So it's good practice. So one thing I recommend is to take action as quickly as possible. Don't wait around for the right moment. You do it now, right? As Sant Kabir ji says, "Kal kare so aaj kar, aaj kare so ab, pal mein parla hoegi, bahar karega kab." So he says, if you're planning to do it tomorrow, do it today, and if you're planning to do it today, then do it now. Right? The point is, and he's not just talking about any action. He's actually talking about bhakti, meditation. He's saying don't delay it. Do it now, because in a few minutes, if you die, right? If you get destroyed, then it'll be too late. Anyway, so I was painting the final touches on Pai Kanhaiya Ji, my latest painting. It hasn't been released yet. I still have to do some more work on it. I still have to do some more final touches. It's almost done. It's like 99% done. And you guys have seen the speed painting already. That's the one that I'm now improving and making into a nice big painting. Some people really liked it, so I thought I should finish it. It's actually, I had a spiritual experience while I was painting it. So the way it's been painted, that was the experience. So a lot of people tell me, like, why don't you make it like so he's in an actual battle with Mughals and Sikhs fighting, and then he's feeding them water. Why don't you paint it like that? And my answer is, I could paint it like that, but I painted it the way I did because of how I experienced that moment. So I could definitely paint like that. Actually, I did paint like that before, a long time ago, when I was in grade, I think either 6 or 7. Yeah, so a long time ago when I was in grade 7, I actually did paint Pai Kanhaiya Ji in battle with Mughals and Sikhs fighting, and he was feeding the Mughals. So I have painted that before, and when I was painting this painting, actually that was the plan, is to also paint this painting like that. However, when I started painting and I started thinking about that moment where he actually where he was in the battlefield and he is looking at he's looking at what's happening, and he's seeing the kind of chaos and there's a nice cool wind blowing right now, like super like cool, like soothing wind. It's pretty cool. Actually, it just started. Yeah, sometimes when I meditate, there's cool wind blowing about when I start meditating. So it's interesting because I got into that meditative moment, and the cool breeze came. It's interesting to note. Anyway, so as I was thinking about Paikaniya on the battlefield, and this is when I had already started meditating, and so when I was thinking about it, I was thinking it was more of a feeling though. It was more of a feeling. It wasn't like anything that I thought of, like in the sense of like thinking, like words and stuff. It wasn't any. There weren't any words, and I don't have the words to describe it either. But so when I pictured myself as Paikaniya, and I pictured myself on the battlefield as Paikaniya, what I saw was basically this sort of oneness in all beings, this sort of as if all the beings are the same, right? They're all the same. And this wasn't the experience I had at the time. In that experience, it wasn't some kind of like mental, thinking. It was more of just like a feeling of like, look at it, like it's right in front of me, right? It's like right in front of me, and every being is the same. It's the same person, and they're just fighting each other. You know, not to downplay the reasons for the war, right? Not to downplay those reasons. I just mean as a more on a spiritual level. That's what I saw, and it was clear to me. And so Paikaniyaji basically he experiences this oneness, and he starts basically feeding everybody water, because he in that state of oneness he finds himself in compassion, like fully compassionate. In fact, so compassionate that he starts to feed everybody water, not just the six. He starts to feed the Mughals water as well, because he's in that sort of state of compassion. And so the Singhs get angry, and they complain to Guru Gobind Singh Ji that this guy over here, he's feeding the enemy water. And Guru Gobind Singh Ji asks Paikaniya, why are you feeding them water? Don't you know that we're fighting them, that this is a war? Why are you feeding them water? So Paikaniya Ji says, Paikaniya Ji is enlightened, and Guru Gobind Singh Ji also knows this. So Paikaniya Ji says, well, Guru Sahib, I don't see anybody else. I just see you. I don't see anybody else. And so I took that line. Okay, so let me actually finish Sakhi. So Guru Gobind Singh Ji then gives him, this is how it's told, so Guru Gobind Singh Ji then gives him like some bandages and stuff, and says you should also give them medical care to those who need it. And so Paikaniya Ji then does that. And apparently there's like there's a group of six, I think they call themselves the Seva Panthi, and then they actually do that stuff like that, like Seva and stuff. So anyway, so I took that line that he said, that Guru Sahib, I just see you and everyone, and he's really talking about oneness there. He's really talking about a state of oneness where every being, that state where whenever you look at somebody, you kind of recognize. Remember the reflection thing I was talking about yesterday, with the when you see your Atma reflected in something. There's moments in reality where you see your Atma reflected in it, like a camera in a movie, for example, when they shoot a reflective surface, and you might get glimpses of that when you're looking at the movie. So like that, he's seeing his Atma reflected in all the beings. So he cannot, in that state, he's not really differentiating. So he replies, Guru Sahib, I'm just seeing you in every being, because the Guru is also a representation of the Atma, right? Guru is a representation of basically the camera. The Guru is reflecting the way, for example, a reflective surface would reflect a camera. The Guru is also reflecting that. So he says, I just see you in all beings. And then I got the idea that I should actually paint Guru Gobind Singh Ji there instead of a Mughal. So Bhai Kanhaiya Ji is actually feeding water to Guru Gobind Singh Ji in the painting. And at first I wanted to actually paint a battle scene where there was like a battle going on, like an intense battle, super chaotic, and then there's Bhai Kanhaiya Ji feeding Mughal water. And I was thinking maybe I should paint all the characters in that battlefield as Guru Gobind Singh Ji, to really drive home this point of oneness, to really drive home this point that Bhai Kanhaiya Ji is seeing Guru Gobind Singh Ji in all men. He's seeing Atma reflected in all men, and he's not differentiating. Hey guys, I'm back. So what happened was, I recorded the entire video blog, and then my camera actually ran out of memory, so I had to go clean it out, basically, delete everything, make sure it was empty enough to so that I could do another, so I could actually finish the blog. So what was I talking about? Alright, okay, so Bhai Kanhaiya Ji. I originally started with, I thought that I should paint a battle scene where all the whole army is, both of the armies is actually Guru Gobind Singh Ji. Everybody you see is Guru Gobind Singh Ji. And that was to, again, drive home that point that Bhai Kanhaiya Ji is seeing oneness in all beings. So he's seeing his Atma reflecting in all beings. But then I thought that would be incredibly confusing to see a battle scene where there's just one person, and that would distract from from Bhai Kanhaiya Ji himself and him feeding the water to the Mughal. And I thought it would also wouldn't look good if I showed Gobind Singh Ji fighting himself in the battlefield. So I scrapped that idea for that reason. Although it would be correct in spiritual terms, it wouldn't work as well if I had painted that. It's just the nature of things. So instead, what I decided to do was I took out the battle entirely, right, and I just put Bhai Kanhaiya Ji into this sort of this black environment, which is symbolic of his consciousness. So that entire painting is basically symbolic of what's going on in his mind, and he's seeing Guru Gobind Singh Ji in the Mughal that he's feeding, and I wanted to drive home that point that he really is seeing the Guru, or the Atma, in all beings. I really wanted to drive that point, and I thought the best way to do that would be to show Guru Gobind Singh Ji there instead of anybody else. Because, I mean, the Atma has no form or feature. So how do you show that in the painting, right? You can't. So what you need is an image that represents the Atma. You need something that represents the Atma, and then you can put that in the image. And in the story, when Paikanayaji says to Guru Gobind Singh Ji that I just see you in all beings, this is why I'm feeding the Mughals water, is because I just see you in them. Here Guru Gobind Singh Ji becomes the representation of the Atma. At least that's how Paikanayaji is seeing it. So that's why I decided that it would be best to paint Guru Gobind Singh Ji in there as a Mughal. So that was one of those paintings where I simply show the inside of the mind of the subjects that are in the painting, because what you see is simply Paikanayaji's consciousness. You're just seeing his mind. You're not seeing. You're seeing his experience. You're not seeing an actual battle or a battlefield. Who he's feeding water to is not actually Guru Gobind Singh Ji, but it's actually a Mughal. But what you're seeing is what's happening in Paikanayaji's mind. And I wanted to do more paintings like that. For example, when I did Guru Ramdas Ji, I was also thinking about painting his consciousness and his sort of state of this kind of spiritual sadness. He's in that state where he's kind of he's yearning for that union between the Atma and itself, between his Atma and Paramatma. And after I painted that, I also I decided I want to paint other kinds of paintings as well. So I painted, for example, Banda Singh Bahadur with Chote Sahibzade, and I painted Guru Arjan Dev Ji, and I have more plans to paint those kinds of paintings where I just simply show the consciousness. And I also have plans to paint paintings where it's more of like you see an actual scene, an actual battle scene, where you see a whole bunch of horses, you see Singhs on horses riding around, kicking up dirt and debris, and they're fighting, they're battling. So I do have plans for that kind of stuff. It's really nice weather outside. Really kind of a cool breeze, warm but with cool breeze. Anyway, so that's it for this video, and do tell me how you like the idea of showing Paikanayaji, whether you thought it was a good idea to show him with Guru Gobind Singh Ji, or whether you would like to see the battle scene with Paikanayaji feeding water to a Mughal. Let me know how you like that idea, and I'll see you guys later.